Hi, I'm Jamie Varner with Mississippi State University Extension Center for Technology Outreach. The Extension Center for Technology Outreach, or CTO as we like to call it, is a unit within the Mississippi State University Extension Service. The Extension Service has a long history of educating the people of Mississippi on new and emerging technologies in the areas of agriculture and natural resources, 4-H youth development, family health and wellness, and community resource development. CTO, or Extension Center for Technology Outreach, provides leadership in technology information, adoption, training, and support for clientele in the state of Mississippi through non-formal education in applied technology services. We look forward to our workshop today, and if you would introduce yourself in the chat, drop your name and where you're from and what you would like to get out of the workshop today. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Jamie, and good morning, everyone. My name is Mariah Morgan, and I am with the Center for 4-H Youth Development here in Mississippi. We're one of the largest youth organizations in the state. I've been deeply involved with Scratch and ScratchJr for a long time, even in the early childhood technology program there at Boston College. Also, I've worked collaboratively with the Scratch Education Collaborative, and that's been a lot of fun for us here in Mississippi as well. I've had the opportunity to explore how young children engage with technology in creative and meaningful ways. And one area I'm really passionate about is introducing ScratchJr to non-formal educational settings, helping kids see that coding is not just a technical skill, but it's a form of literacy. To me, coding as literacy is a powerful concept, especially given how important reading literacy is in our state. We have the third grade reading assessment here in Mississippi that all children have to pass. I've been focused on ways to find how youth can integrate reading and our teachers can integrate reading and coding literacies to give youth and young learners a strong, well-rounded foundation. And we've also had some other curriculum that we've developed as well. So ScratchJr, how do you discover 4-H Cloverbuds? That's our youngest learners from 5 to 7 years old with ScratchJr. And then Programming Pals, which is another reading literacy curriculum that we developed with ScratchJr. So with that, I'll head over to the chat to meet you via text, and then I'll turn it over to Lori.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lori Matzik. I'm a project specialist here at the Center for Technology Outreach. And the project that I'm going to be sharing with you today is called Building Stronger Sentences with ScratchJr. It's a creative coding approach, and we're going to get right into it today. Our team is so excited to have you here, and we hope you will find this both practical and inspiring today. So let's take a look at our slides. Here's our team again. And first, I want to go over with you the 3 goals that we have for the workshop today. First, we're going to explain the structure of the unit and give you some of the rationale behind some of the decisions we made when creating this. Second, we're going to discuss some actual student outcomes and look at some artifacts and discuss classroom applications. We'll actually do that toward the end. But the third thing that we're going to do today is have everyone participate in a model lesson from the unit. So in order to fully experience this model unit, when we get to that portion, if you already have a device that has ScratchJr, we would ask for you to have that device nearby. If you do not already have ScratchJr, it is quick to install from either the Apple App Store or Google Play on your laptop or mobile device. And if you're not familiar with ScratchJr, it is designed for ages 5 to 7, and it's very developmentally appropriate for young children and extremely safe for them to use in a classroom situation. This workshop is all about how we can make grammar and writing instruction more joyful, more creative, and more effective by integrating English language arts with computer science using the ScratchJr app. But first, I want us all to take a moment to reflect on our own experiences. I would like for you to think back in time to when you were a student and you were experiencing learning grammar for the first time. I realize that we have participants that are joining us from very different places, so I'm quite curious about how similar or how different our own early experiences learning grammar were. So just think about that for a moment. And if you would like to share some personal recollections or memories from that time, we would love to hear from you in the chat. Think about if grammar instruction for you, was it memorable? Was it meaningful? Or was it just kind of a blur of worksheets and red pens? Maybe you don't remember much about it at all. Personally, what I recall a lot from grammar instruction, I do remember diagramming sentences. Anybody participate in that and remember that? I actually enjoyed doing that. I think maybe perhaps it was more hands-on and more interactive than the other things we were doing learning grammar. However, I will tell you that research has shown that a lot of the traditional ways we teach grammar just simply don't work. According to researchers Graham and Perrin, sometimes that traditional grammar instruction can actually be detrimental to writing growth. So today, I hope by the end of the workshop, we'll show you a different and maybe better way that we can instruct students in grammar.
Jackie loves diagramming sentences too, Lori.
Okay, so we have some other people who enjoy diagramming sentences. I always found if you were kind of analytical, maybe you like doing that. Kind of fun and hands-on. Right, so let's look at the problem that we're addressing today. Really three main problems. The first relates to time constraints in the school day. In Mississippi, we have something called the Mississippi Computer Science and Cyber Education Equality Act, and it requires our elementary students to learn computer science skills for at least 1 hour per week. We've actually had computer science standards in Mississippi since 2018, but what we have found is many teachers, especially those in a tested core subject, have a hard time fitting that into an already very crowded school day. Also, many of our schools are very rural and very small, and they may not have a dedicated computer science or technology teacher. So a lot of teaching those standards falls on the classroom teachers themselves. Also in Mississippi, as Mariah has already mentioned, in third grade, which our unit was written directly to align with Mississippi third grade English language arts standards. We will talk about some ways that you can modify this for your own setting later on. But in third grade, our students do have to pass the state assessment. It's kind of commonly referred to as the reading gate in order to be promoted to the next grade. So the third grade language arts teachers really have a lot of pressure on them. So one of the things that we can do to maximize instructional time and to address this pressure of high stakes testing is to integrate these two subjects, and that is what this unit is designed to do. Another problem that I think is just across the board, any educator will have to address at some time, are problems with student motivation and disengagement. Certainly an issue for all of us at some time. So here is one possible solution, which is our solution. How do we respond to these problems? An integrated unit that uses mentor texts, creative sentence building strategies and activities, and of course, ScratchJr coding projects, all in one cohesive learning experience. Let me tell you a little bit about why it works. Our unit aligns, as I said before, with Mississippi standards for both English language arts for 3rd grade and the computer science standards for elementary school. In this unit, students animate their own sentences that they have written that meet given criteria. They bring their words to life with characters, dialogue, and backgrounds. It's personal, it's creative, and I hope that you will see how it taps into students' own voice and agency as both writers and coders. I'm going to share with you some of the research that helps support 3 conclusions we were able to make. The first conclusion is that integrated instruction boosts outcomes in domain domain that is targeted. Second, we'll talk about how literacy includes digital expression. And finally, how student engagement actually skyrockets when learning is authentic, it's creative, and it's student-driven. I'll share a few little studies with you. There are many studies that show that integrating computer science and language arts leads to gains in both domains, from both stronger sentence construction and higher test scores in some cases. Thomas and Childers, this was 2021, documented increases in both writing stamina and quality after using Scratch, the programming language Scratch, with a multidisciplinary approach. Grammar instruction should focus on authentic writing in meaningful contexts. This leads to increases in motivation and engagement. That was Mark's 2000. Coding can provide that context. It gives students a reason to write, revise, and share. And that's from Hutchinson. I do have some citations for you at the end of the presentation today. The strong support for the integration of computer science and English language arts can best be explained when we take a look at Dr. Burr's own definition of what literacy is. Really, in the 21st century, being literate does not mean just being able to read and write anymore. So I really like Dr. Burr's definition of literacy as the ability to use a symbol system and a technological tool to comprehend, generate, communicate, and express ideas by making a shareable project that others can interpret. And I hope you see in this unit how we've tried to use that definition of literacy all throughout. Let's get that. One of the strengths we believe of our approach is that the two, at first, maybe they're seemingly very different. The domains of computer science and language actually have many similarities. Our Scratch team, as Mariah told you before, we've written other curricula that tie programming to reading skills like cause and effect, sequencing, plot, story plot, and so on. But as far as we know, this curriculum that we're sharing with you today is the first that relates grammar skills to coding skills. For example, we had students relate the syntax in both writing and coding, like how the triggering block, the green flag in ScratchJr, is like the capital letter at the beginning of a sentence, or the importance of following rules and order in both coding and in writing. Also, another example from our unit is that the way conjunctions join parts of sentences is much like we link pages together in a program. And each lesson, as you'll see, has some of these parallels. But on this slide, I think you'll see one of the most powerful parallels. You may notice the similarities in the engineering design process and the writing process. As we all know, often things do not work out correctly the first time, both in our writing and in coding. However, it's natural, even expected that we make mistakes. When I shared this illustration with a group of students, I actually made them little bookmarks. Seeing that both processes are ongoing, one student says, "It looks like infinity." So it's very good that we realize failure as an opportunity of growth rather than an end. And that really can empower students to start to embrace challenge and not see it as a negative. Okay, I'm going to just quickly walk you through the structure of the unit. There are 5 lessons. By the way, at the end of the presentation, I'm going to give you a code where you can access the entire unit. But each one has a read aloud of a picture book that is used as a mentor text, scaffolded sentence building activities, a hands-on ScratchJr project. These are all linked together. There's sharing time built in. There's differentiation for both the writing activities and the coding in each lesson, and also plenty of extension activities. Most of these are unplugged activities like crafts or games or songs. And that's in each of the 5 lessons. I do want to talk to you for a moment about the mentor text, the 5 children's books that are used in this unit, and while they were chosen. All of them have very empathetic characters. Even real life Grace Hopper, the computer pioneer, is very relatable to children, because if you're familiar with the book, you know that she did not always have it easy and faced a lot of hardships and failures in her lifetime. Students especially like the part of that book when a young Grace Hopper takes apart every clock in her house to find out how a clock ticks. And most students related an incident where they had done something similar themselves. Also, the authors of all of these books engage the reader in a very conversational style, almost including the reader as a character, as when the driver of the bus and don't let the pigeon drive the bus implores the readers, please don't let the pigeon drive the bus. It almost makes students feel like they are part of the story. Now, here's why that's important. Having relatable characters and involving students in the conversation of the book. When students are able to make a connection to a text, they see themselves as valid, legitimate, and important. I think that's similar to the ScratchJr platform also. Students have a feeling of agency and control over something. That's especially important if there are areas in their life where they may not feel that they have any control. That can lead to feelings of low self-importance and frustration. But by showing students that they are important, they do have a voice, they do have a choice, and they do have a say, it's kind of built through this unit. Okay, like I said, you will have the entire access to the unit at the end of the presentation. This is just a brief overview of the 5 books that are used, the theme, and I do want to point out that each lesson has a social, emotional learning theme that it's trying to build also, which is very important in education today. And then you can see the English language arts skills and the related computer science skills for each one. Let's just take a look at the first one, the theme for lesson 1, the importance of order and following rules. And in that lesson, we talk about the syntax of a sentence and how to write a complete sentence. And the computer science skill that's related is to understand the rules for coding. Okay, as I said earlier, each lesson includes sentence building activities, all very hands-on. These are included in the lesson as handouts. Some of the ones that are included, the sentence scrambles, where students will rearrange the words in a sentence to make a complete sentence where the order makes sense. Also, a expanding kernel sentences game where the students roll a dice that have question words, who, what, when, where, and so forth, to expand a simple sentence with more details. And on this slide, you see a picture of some conjunction puzzles that goes with one of the lessons, where students learn the uses for different conjunctions, and we see how they are used to join sentence parts together, learning to make sentences that have more variety than just simple sentences. And then, of course, each lesson builds to the ScratchJr project itself. In these projects, the students will emulate either the text style from the mentor text or the theme of the book. They're scaffolded that the first few lessons are more teacher directed, but then they become more student directed, and students are asked to include more personal experiences in the later lessons if they wish. They gradually take that on. Okay, we are now getting to the hands-on part of our lesson. We're going to do a sample lesson today from the unit. And if you do have a device that you would like to kind of participate with us, this is going to be a much shortened version of what we would do with students. But this is just to kind of give you an idea of what students will experience in the sample lesson. This is actually lesson 2 from the unit. It focuses on adding descriptive details, which is a key strategy for building stronger sentences and designing engaging coding projects as well. The mentor text that we're using for this is called Dragons Love Tacos. It's by Adam Rubin. If you know this book, you know that it's very fun, and there's an unexpected twist at the end of the book. The book style and humor, we're going to use that as the springboard for our sentence writing activities and for our coding project that goes along with it. We're going to start by writing simple sentences, making a simple program, but then adding more vivid details. Also, remember, we talked about how important collaborating with peers was to give students that agency and that voice, that decision making. So I'll show you how with the students you can evaluate each other's projects in a fun way. In fact, the theme of the book, the main character in the book, the boy, is very helpful, and he does it in a kind way, which is we're trying to teach our students that they can help each other, but they can do it in a kind way. So that's kind of the theme of the book. First, though, let's just think a moment about, it may be getting to lunchtime where you are. I don't know. Let's just talk about food for a moment. Does anyone like spicy food? Or do you prefer just plain food? You like spicy food? If you would like to tell us maybe your favorite spice in the chat. Jamie, what's your favorite spice?
I'm pretty mild, but I guess I don't know, some kind of hot sauce. Okay. I would like.
Mariah, do you like spicy food?
No.
Nobody. I picked the wrong people today.
But we eat a ton of tacos in our house. It's our favorite thing. And we have made our own seasonings at our last 4-H event. Our health and nutrition folks came in and we made our own seasonings so we could also do that with our.
Okay. Well, let's think about why people who do like spicy food, why they like it. They like to add flavor. They like variety in the things that they eat.
Lord, you're getting lots of good.
Oh,
yeah. Amy says she likes crunchy Asian chili flakes with peanuts.
Sounds
Annabelle likes green chili.
I do like Taco
Cilantro.
Bell sauce.
Sriracha. And gauche. I don't know. I need to practice that word. But lots of good things coming in. We're going to have to get exciting around here. Potluck at the office. Bell pepper hot sauce.
This looks so good. There's someone else who likes that. I'm not familiar with that. I've got
either.
to check that out.
We'll Google after we get out.
We
We'll search
will.
that. See what that is.
But we do that. We like to add variety in our sentences too. When students are writing, when they start out writing, they may be all short sentences. They may be the same kinds of sentences. They may use the same vocabulary over and over. They may repeat themselves. They may use the same type of sentence. But when we add descriptive details, when we add variety, it makes our communication more like what we really intended it to be. It gives it clarity and it gives it more meaning. So we're trying to teach our students to add more variety, more flavor to their writing. And in this lesson, they learn to do that by adding adjectives and adverbs. Now, depending on the age level of your students, you may be already ready for the words adjectives and adverbs, or you may just call them descriptive words. So I'm just going to show you how this book, I'm going to read just a few pages from it, how it's such a great mentor text for introducing the skill. So here's the boy that's the main character. Remember, he is kind and helpful. And he says, "Hey, kid." So he starts out, he's drawing the reader into the book. "Hey, kid, did you know that dragons love tacos? They love beef tacos and chicken tacos. They love really big, gigantic tacos and tiny little baby tacos as well." So already we're hearing lots of descriptive words for the tacos. And I have an anchor chart. I'm adding those words to the chart as I read with my students. Why do dragons love tacos? Maybe it's the smell from the sizzling pan. Maybe it's the crunch of the crispy tortillas. Maybe it's a secret. Either way, if you want to make friends with dragons, tacos are key. Hey, dragon, why do you guys love tacos so much? But wait, as much as dragons love tacos, they hate spicy salsa even more. So that's a great description too. They hate spicy green salsa and spicy red salsa. They hate spicy chunky salsa and spicy smooth salsa. If the salsa is spicy at all, dragons can't stand it. Why do dragons hate spicy salsa? Well, just one drop of hot sauce makes a dragon's ears smoke. Just one single speck of hot pepper makes a dragon snort sparks. Spicy salsa gives dragons the tummy troubles. And when dragons get the tummy troubles, oh boy. And it goes on to, there's a little twist at the end of the book. But you may see already that it's so good with descriptive and sensory details. And we're adding that to anchor chart as we go through reading the book. Kind of the next step with students is that, and you'll see in the unit later on, there's a handout that they work with a peer where they're adding adjectives and adverbs to some sentences, kind of as some sentences that already have a structure and are started for them. And then we begin to move into the ScratchJr project. And so that's what we're going to do together today. If you have your device, if not, just we've got Jamie and Mariah, and they're going to do a project with us as well. I'm going to kind of share some of the tips also that may help you with using ScratchJr with young children. One of the things that I do is have them practice on their fingers first, that they may have to just tap, just their finger in their hand on something. They may have to tap and hold, and they may have to tap, hold, and drag. But I will tell you, young children, even toddlers, are able to use ScratchJr so easily. And, kids, they understand technology and they don't have that fear like some of us do. So they do great with it. So we're going to make a new project, and we're going to go to tap the orange house to open up the ScratchJr app. I have that already. And then we're going to tap the blue plus sign, and again, to make a new project. One of the things I like about the ScratchJr platform is everything already saves, and it saves locally on the device so that you're not interacting with other people. It's very safe. Okay, so for our story today, we don't want it to be about a cat because there was not a cat as a character in our book. So the first thing we're going to do is delete the cat. And you do that by tapping and holding until your cat sprite starts to wiggle. And then there's a red X, and we can tap that red X and we have our blank screen. Now over on the left-hand side of the interface, under the orange house, that blue plus sign is where you choose the characters. So we're going to tap that once. And this story is going to be about a what? What do y'all think? It's going to be about a dragon. And there's a dragon character that's already in ScratchJr. Mine is close to the top because I've used it before. You may have to scroll to about the middle. And we're going to choose the dragon. We'll tap on it, and then it becomes highlighted in orange, the character we want, and then we can check mark it at the top. If you're familiar with ScratchJr, you may know already that you can make your own characters. You can add your face to a character, which is one of the great things to personalize it. You can change the color of this dragon in the paint editor. If you want a different color dragon, there are so many options that you can do. This goes back to us giving the students choice and control and agency over this. So we have our dragon. Now, remember, in this part of the lesson, I'm going to be very directed. We're going to make this very plain. Okay? We're going to add a background. Now, to find the background, it's the icon that's at the top in the very middle. It kind of looks like a background, and this will give you the choices. And let's just choose something. What do you want to choose?
We could do a classroom.
Do a classroom. Okay. There are a couple of different options for a library or a classroom. So we're going to choose that. We've got our dragon in the classroom. And now we're going to animate him to do something. So down here at the bottom, the stage down here where you've got room, that's where we do the programming blocks and make the animation, the magic happen. So one of the things we're trying to emphasize through the lessons is how writing a code is similar to writing a complete sentence. You have to follow certain rules and a certain order. And in ScratchJr, you must always begin with a triggering block, which is going to be one of the yellow choices. We're going to, as we're doing our project together first, use the green flag. So I'm going to select the green flag, tap and hold, and drag it down into the programming area. And it can go anywhere at the bottom.
Jamie, you're a trendsetter with your purple dragon.
Oh, nice.
So that's like, you may remember from our first lesson, the capital letter at the beginning of a sentence. We have to have that. Okay, we're going to make our dragon move. The motion blocks in ScratchJr are all blue. If you'll tap that blue, you'll see all of these choices. We're just going to make ours very plain. So we're going to pick that first one, which is move forward. And right now you may notice that there's a 1 as the parameter. But if you tap the 1, number keypad comes up, and you can change that to any number that you want. We're just going to pick, what number would you like, Jamie?
8.
Okay, we're going to choose 8. And so that's like our verb. That's the action in the story. And then we need to end our program with a red end block. And right now there's only 2 choices. We're just going to pick that first to end. The arrows would loop it to play over and over there. Now, some of you may know in ScratchJr, you don't actually have to include a red end block. But remember, one of the things we're trying to emphasize here is the syntax of a sentence, the rules and the order. So I'm going to ask students to do that so I can relate that to the end punctuation of a sentence. We're going to do that every time. Even in some of our literacy curriculum, when we're talking about story elements, a story must have a beginning, a middle, and an end, even though technically you don't have to use the end block. If you want to get that, make that connection and that parallel, just have them use that. Okay, so now we're going to get ready to, I'm going to presentation, or you can just play that from your screen. And we said we wanted it to start on green flag. So I'm going to tap the green flag. There's our dragon. Now we've got to add our sentence though, right? So we're going to go back, and the place that you add your sentence, by the way, and I'll give you some tips later, you can either have your students write the sentence after the animation, before, or, we want this to be an ongoing process. We want it to be a cycle. They may change their animation and then want to change their sentence too. But the text tool is the circle where you'll see the ABC. So we're practicing writing sentences. One of the things about the text tool, the different sizes of the letters there, you can tap on that so you can fit more words. I'm going to make that a little smaller so you can fit more words in your sentence. You can also, add another line or 2 on there if you need more room for your sentence. And we're going to write, let's see, what do we want to say? Just a very plain sentence. We want it to be a complete sentence. We want it to have a subject and a verb, but we just want it to be kind of plain. So let's say the dragon walked across the room. Okay, so let me check. Do I have a capital letter? Does my sentence make sense? Does it have a subject and a verb? I call that a who did what, who, and a what did they do? And does it have an end punctuation? So it's got all our components, but if we play that again, we've got a plain sentence and we've got just kind of a boring project. I think that it could do so much more. So what we're going to do is have you spice it up. We're going to take a few moments, and if you're making a project along with us, we're going to take a few minutes here to add some details to our program and to our sentence. Let me give you some ideas of what you might want to do. You could make the dragon move in different directions. You could use some of the purple looks blocks like the grow and shrink. You could change the parameters on another block. You could add a second page to the story by clicking over there on the right and the blue plus sign. You could add a speech bubble or a text bubble, or your voice, record your own voice reading the sentence. There's so much that you can do to make this your own, but remember to use some descriptive words. Do things like describe the size, the color of your dragon, tell what kind of dragon it is, and also describe its motion. That's what an adverb is. You could use words that describe how it's moving too. So we're going to give you a few moments just to add some descriptive details to make your project more flavorful.
Alyssa says that the dragon could shake or dance when he gets to the tacos, or jump with joy.
Some people have the dragon running for the tacos. The orange blocks, you can use those to change the speed of your characters to make them run faster for those tacos. And please continue if you want to work on your project as we start to move ahead to look at some student projects. Feel free to keep working on that. If you want to share some of the sentences that you wrote that were spicy in the chat, if you want to share a screenshot of your project that you made with us, we would love to see that and hear from you. Don't worry if it's not finished or you don't feel like it's perfect. Remember, what we're just trying to do is we're experimenting between the relationship between language and coding. And we're trying to have some fun with it. While you're, Mariah's going to share hers. What's your project, Mariah?
Oh, okay. I said that Henry loves tacos on Tuesday, and I said he will not share with Dragon. I was trying to get a negative in there.
Jamie, what's yours?
I'm gonna add some more stuff, but
She's
I
still
just
working on
said,
it.
I just said dragons love tacos, but they will panic and jump wildly when tacos are spicy.
Okay, so as you're finishing up, I'm going to share with you how I would have students to evaluate each other's sentences and their projects. So we have some taco sauce packets that each student has, and they're going to rate each other's projects. And remember, we're going to do that in a kind but helpful way, like the boy in the book was kind to the dragons. So you will give your partner a mild taco sauce packet if they included at least one descriptive word, at least one adjective. You're going to rate their project as mild. If they used at least two adjectives, we're going to call that hot. And if they used adjectives and adverbs, that project was fire. So we're going to rate that like that. Okay, we're going to move back to our slide presentation. But while we do that, I just want you to reflect on your own experience doing that lesson. Think about if it was easier to animate my sentence that I made up really for you, that I was very directed, or Was it more engaging when you got to put your own voice in there and add your own details to it and change it up and make it more personal and your own? One thing that we have seen with students is the more vivid their writing and the more personal their writing, the more ideas they have for animation. And therefore, they're more motivated to go back and revise and improve their work when it's their own. This is just another way that the two domains of language and coding can build on each other and support each other. Once again, by teaching students to revise a sentence and then code that sentence into something dynamic, you're reinforcing the iterative nature of both writing and programming. They start to see editing as similar to debugging. They learn that good, strong communication, whether words or through code, has details and is very descriptive. And sometimes it does take time and effort to do that. Okay, we're going to look at some actual student outcomes from when this unit was piloted with a group of Mississippi third graders in an after-school program. Here are just some screenshots of some of the projects they created. In the first one, this is with the Don't Let the Pigeon Drive the Bus lesson. Their prompt was to create a project about something else a character wants to do but shouldn't. And this student programmed the polar bear to be jumping on the bed. They were supposed to write at least 2 complete sentences. So they have over here, you can see that he has 2 screens, 2 parts of his project to explain why the character should not do it. In this lesson, we were talking about overcoming our fears. This was lesson 4. Tell about a time you faced a fear using complete sentences. And this, they were learning to use conjunctions. And he was telling about how he was afraid of the dark. And then in lesson 5, this was tell about a time you made a mistake and fixed it. They had built up by lesson 5 in that they were writing at least 3 complete sentences and had to use different sentence types by that time. So that's some of screenshots from their projects. And then just some artifacts from some of the handouts. We talked about kind of worksheets before earlier. I am not anti-worksheet at all. I'm pro practice. And in any subject area, not just writing, not just grammar, but we know that practice needs to be in multimodal and in different forms and ongoing. And so here's some student artifacts from them. So we observed growth in the students in 3 main areas. First of all, in their sentence construction skills, they were able to write sentences with greater complexity, and we're definitely having fewer errors in capitalization and punctuation by the end of the lessons. They also started using very advanced features in ScratchJr. Most of them they figured out on their own. And keep in mind, these were students that had no prior coding experience at all before. But what we saw the greatest really increase was in their engagement, that when they started out in their little pretest, very reluctant to write, they became much more eager, knowing that they were going to get to animate their sentences after they wrote them. That was a great motivator in engagement. So the students learn things, but also we learn things. We learned that it's true that the coding really gave an audience and a purpose for their writing, and they were sharing their programs with not just their teacher, so that the audience was very authentic with their peers and with others. And the 2 domains, language and coding, really did support each other. They were remembering that they needed to put in punctuation because that was part of their code, always had a red block too. Really liked the part where the peers were interacting with each other and collaborating. And one of the main things I like about writing sentences in ScratchJr, you really using any kind of digital platform for reluctant writers that want to correct and feel like everything has to be perfect and might erase a lot. Editing is much less frustrating in a digital platform. So that's another thing that I think encouraged them. Just some implementation tips for your own setting and your own students. I would say start small, do one lesson that integrates. It doesn't even have to be language arts, whatever your subject matter is that you want to integrate with computer science. Look at your standards. I think that is key. Focus on your standards, what you're trying to teach, stay true to them. Collaborate with others, your tech person if you have one, your peer teacher if you have one. Scaffold both the coding part and the writing part. One of the things that we do, our team does and has to help scaffold with the coding, we have the giant laminated programming blocks from ScratchJr that they can interact with, and you might have them do this first before they code.
And we Velcro the backs of them and put them on the science fair boards so they can make the
Yes,
story.
Mariah has some science boards, and these have Velcro, and they can interact and do it as kind of unplugged too. So that's a great tip to have. Feel free to modify any of these lessons. And, I would say for this, focus on the building the academic skill, whether it's the writing or the math or the science, and the coding naturally develops really from that. One more tip about implementation. I just found that students were so eager to do the coding part that they would want to jump into that before their sentence was complete, that had met the criteria. So have them plan out their sentence on index cards first. You can help them edit that. Their peer can help them edit it, and then they can go into ScratchJr and do the coding. But remember, we want it to be a cycle, that they're not really finished with the sentence or the coding. They're trying to make improvements for both. Okay, we're going to take a moment to look and see if there are any questions that you have or comments about how you might implement this, how you might modify it for your own grade levels.
So Kathleen asked, to gather students' projects for portfolios and assessment, do you send them to yourself via email, or is there another method? And so Vicky was saying that she sometimes airdrops them. I know we've taken pictures of them in the past to email to ourselves.
Yes, and you can. You can airdrop the project from one iPad or one device to another. If you wanted to do something like make a showcase for a family night where you were showing, you can absolutely do that.
And so another question was, we also do a Scratch Family Coding Night.
Yes.
With the parents and the youth, but they also asked, do we share devices, or is it one-to-one, and how do we handle encouraging youth to share and to be a good partner with each other?
A lot depends on the age level too that I see. In some kindergarten classes, it was very good that, like, I brought in a set of devices and the teacher had her own devices. When I would not be there with enough devices for everyone, she did it as a center, and one of the teachers would monitor if they had enough and could go through like that. If they're not, that's one idea.
Right. And we also use timers, the bigger timers.
Oh,
and
timers.
Have them rotate. So they may do a hands-on activity where they're doing the Velcro blocks, and then they might go to the iPad, but we also just have them you're the coder, you're the designer, and have them work and then have them switch roles as well.
That's a great idea. That's a great idea. And that having access to the technology and having enough, that is a big concern.
Okay.
And where did you get the Scratch blocks?
Junior blocks. I was going to drop that in the chat.
Okay,
here.
Mariah's going to drop in the chat
Okay.
where you can get those.
All right. And then how can we access the curriculum?
Okay, great. Yes, so thank you for asking. I'm going to go back to the slides and I'll go to the next slide and give you a moment. Okay, on the left, that QR code, that's the PDF of the whole 5 lessons of the whole unit. And like I said, it's tied to our Mississippi standards, but feel free to make any kind of, make it your own, modify, adjust. It also includes any handouts that we made, all of the games, that kind of thing for each of the lessons. So that's the code that's on the left. On the right is a code to a Qualtrics survey for feedback. Not on this presentation today, but if you do use one of the lessons, we would love to get your input, your ideas, your feedback from one or any of the lessons that you do, just so that we can improve it. And if we move forward with writing some more units, some more lessons, that will inform our decisions moving forward of what is helpful to people, just what we want. So on the left, this is the PDF to the whole unit.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's 5 lessons in there. It's the complete lessons. It's got some example projects in there also for each one. And then on the right is the QR code for the feedback survey, if you do use some. And we would love for you to use that with students. Okay, so just there are their references. And just as we conclude today, I do want to just read back from just the end here of one of the books that's in the unit. The theme is perseverance and overcoming challenges that, you know, we just all have in our lives. And this uses the book Humpty Dumpty After the Fall. And it talks about how he overcame his fear of heights and persevered in that, overcame challenges. So I'm just going to read the end of the book here. This is Humpty Dumpty talking. He wants to climb back on the wall because he's made a paper airplane and it has unfortunately landed on the wall. And we know the wall for Humpty Dumpty is not a good thing. It's a fear. So he says, I almost walked away again, but then I thought about all the time I'd spent working on my plane and all the other things I'd missed. I decided I was going to climb on that wall. But the higher I got, the more nervous I felt. I didn't want to admit it. I was terrified. But here's a good lesson. I didn't look up. I didn't look down. I just kept climbing, one step at a time, until I was no longer afraid. Maybe now you won't think of me as that egg who was famous for falling. Hopefully, you'll remember me as the egg who got back up. And he breaks out of his shell and he becomes a bird, which is what he dreamed of coming as the end. So I hope in your journey as educators, wherever you are, that the challenges that you're having to overcome, that you will take them one step at a time. And I hope that this unit can help you in any way. So you have our contact information. Let us know anything that we can do to help you moving forward from this.